would come on in that early morning. I did work Japan, by the way, on 160. So yeah, it turns to bedtime in less than a few minutes. A well-integrated automated station could get you in and out very quickly. And then, you know, you have your logging and control software, and you have fewer things to fiddle with. You know, like how a long time ago when you start your car, you have to pull the choke and then, you know, pump the gas a few times and then turn it. These days, you just get in the car, you turn the key, and then you're off. You have to wait for the wire too. Less wiring. A lot of stations today, you know, they don't have like the whole rat's nest of wires, where you might even have some cables you didn't even know you put there. A lot of them, they just have a USB port, or they have, in the case of a flex radio, Ethernet port, right? And the Ethernet port, you connect that to your home network router, and I'll talk about that in the next section. The world is your shack, so you have presence, right? You can be in your shack even when you're not in a shack. No human being can be everywhere at once. My life does not revolve around that should be around ham radio. I have a family and other commitments, but I still manage to work the rare ones. And you know, how can that be? You know, I used to have a real tough time when I was at work. You know, a rare DX come on. I have all my friends talk about, yeah, you know, I worked this DX. I said, gee, I was at work, you know, grinding away. Well, you know, I get an alert. I go take a coffee break. I pull out my phone here. I just go work them on CW and then get back to work before anybody notices. And this is how I did it. Well, actually, I was in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I was there on a business trip, and then it was nice. I actually was taking part in the ARRL DX SSB contest, and you can see there I'm on 75 meters. I have my iPad and I have my my computer, and then, you know, I connected all the way home. Of course, when the Wi-Fi was working. Sometimes the Wi-Fi didn't work, but yeah, you know, SDR actually has a signal chain in the digital format. It could take that and easily send that over the wire, over the internet, and it doesn't have to do any extra digital to analog. Analog to digital conversion. Whereas with something like a K3 and a remote rig, you had to plug in a box, and you know, that box had to then take the analog audio, digitize it, and then send it over the internet. When I wrote this for QSO today, there's a separate presentation by Mike Walker, VA3MW. The good news is I think Mike had put that on the Flex Radio website. So if you want to retrieve that presentation, I'll be more than happy to send it around. So I'll send it to JR, and you know, I'll ask Mike if he has it, and I'll send it. If I could find it, I'll send it out, and then you guys could take a look at it. Of course, you know, any of these things, you could always contact me. You know how to reach me.
Great, good, thanks.
All right. More tools of the trade. I talked about CW skimmer. Whisper for propagation analysis. Yes, learn when the band's open and close the location. FT8 does the same thing. Crude. Probably even a little better than Whisper because everybody's on FT8. So Whisper is a trick I learned about Whisper, using Whisper to evaluate your antenna from K3LR. I actually met Tim down in Hamcom in Texas. He had a presentation, and you know, he talked about things that he said, well, how do I get my station ready for a big contest? He said, well, a week before, I hook up a little Whisper box to my antenna system, and then I chart when the band opens and closes. So when the band opens and closes, I know. And, you know, that's been kind of like a secret weapon. Well, it's not so secret now, but, you know, you put that on, you know, it's useful. You know, like how long ago you used to listen for beacons, right? Well, now you have everybody with Whisper. FT8, since everybody's on FT8, what I do is I leave my computer on, and I have it uploading to PSK Reporter, and I can see over a 24-hour period exactly what I received and when. And it will tell me that. I think I talk about that a little later on. Now, what can you get for $1, right? What can you get for $1? Inflation. We have so much inflation. All this money printing that's going on. Nothing. You probably can't get. You're probably expecting this for $1. No, you can get a functional SDR receiver for $21. It used to be $10. I bought a bunch of these for $10. So there's a guy by the name of he used to go by call sign KB9YIG, Tony Parks, and he created a system called SoftRock. And SoftRock basically was a very simple, it's a front end. And what it did was it converted the RF down to baseband audio. And then you'd have software such as, well, at that time it was Rocky by DB3NEA. And Rocky was a very simple SDR software. Then there are others. There's HD SDR, which is another software package. There's Power SDR you could use. And you can use all these with a $21 software. You need a PC sound card. You can use a regular PC sound card, excuse me, or you can use one of those, like I might have one here, a cheap USB dongle that you anyway, a cheap USB dongle that you plug into your laptop or something. These might work. Let me see, has a input here. All right. Okay. And you can use this for CW Skimmer if you wanted to. It comes in a kit, but you can buy them fully assembled. You can buy RTL SDR. No, RTL SDR is kind of cool because this was the discovery made by radio amateurs in Europe that you can use one of their TV tuners, European TV tuners, that uses RTL chip as a software-defined radio. Wow, that was very nice. The problem was that it's natively for VHF, UHF. So what they did was people developed converters to convert the frequency up to that. And then that kind of, enabled the use on HF. Now, a lot of them come with the converter built in and they have a switch, or they have separate inputs to go VHF or HF. This one here is called DX Patrol, and DX Patrol was designed for CW Skimmer use. So this is another option. So here are some other tips and tricks. Are you getting out? Well, this one's also based on SDR technology. This one is called the reverse beacon network. How well do you get out with internet connected SDRs? You can send some stuff on CW, CQs, send some CQs, make some calls. And then you go on the CW Skimmer website, and then you can see exactly how you're being received and by whom. And that's pretty cool. Well, here's another, measuring whose signal is bigger. A neat little tool that can tell you. It's also part of the reverse beacon network. You can choose a spot. You go to reversebeacon.net/analysis. You choose a spotter. You enter the call signs and you plot them on a graph. Here I'm looking to see if I'm actually getting out better than K1ZZ and K3WW, because I really thought I'd stand a chance against them. But actually, in some cases, I was actually doing pretty well. I was louder than K3WW, and K1ZZ was really nowhere to be found. But yeah, I was neck and neck with them. And if you do that, if you play on a contest, a CW contest, now of course this will work with CW. You play on a contest weekend, and then you put this, you try this on a contest weekend, you really generate some interesting analysis. You see how your antenna works better during different times of the day than others. Because some of these big contest stations, they have stacks and stacks of antennas. And then they, the really high antennas, some of them who just have really high antennas, they work well for low angles and early on. And then later on, they get they're not really as good. Whereas the person with this, the lower antenna will get out later in the day. So something to think about. So let's talk about, let's say you're talking about DXCC, you work in DXCC. It's okay to use the tools. I mean, the rules are there. You lose local receivers and local antennas. Now, this does not mean that you can't use a friend station remotely. It does mean that if you use a remote station, your transmitters and receivers have to be within a circle. They cannot be, they have to be either on the same property or I believe 500 meters. You cannot have a receiver in a distant physical location and the transmitter in another. Because what is the point, right? Let's say you're in Schenectady, New York, and you have a remote receiver only in Maine, and you're listening on that and you're working on 160-meter DX transmitting on the Schenectady. That's not going to work. It'll work, but it's not going to be, ethical to do. But if you use a friend station in Maine, you transmit and you receive on that, that's fine. That's the only real caveat. I mean, And with that, I come to the end, and I'd like to thank you for listening, and I could take some questions if you want. I can stop the screen share, and let's see here. Right, here we go. Okay, and I'm back.
Yep. Well, this is
All
great.
right.
Everyone had a front row seat. Everyone could see the slides perfectly. And hopefully you've got some questions. So fire away.
Yeah, that does mean you do have to unmute yourselves.
Yeah.
Ria, I've got a quick question for you.
Sure.
So you've tried a variety of different SDR rigs. I'm kind of curious because in full disclosure, I own one, and there's not a lot in the States, but they seem to be enjoying a little more of an upswing as far as people are starting to make an entry into the market. I have a Sun SDR Pro DX. It's a Russian designed SDR. Have you had any experience with that?
I did actually try it out at a date, and I talked to them. It seems pretty cool. I know a number of the French DX expeditions have used them, and they seem to like it. I just have not had a lot of experience with it beyond the booth displays and such. But, they do offer an all-in-one, which is good because hams do like knobs and such, But I don't have much personal experience with it, unfortunately. I do know a few people who use it. There's some who love it. There's some who hate it, but like everything, that's how it is.
Okay,
you use
thanks.
it. What do you think about it?
I really like it. It was at a price point for me where it was probably about mid-range between some of the lower, like more mobile or cheaper offerings and then say where the Flex and Anon were. I was actually sort of leaning towards the Anon, and then I started delving a little deeper into it and said, you know what, I'm going to take a chance on this. It looks like they're selling a lot more of these, and they're starting to make inroads into the States. And I've loved it. I get great audio reports from everybody. The software development is slow but steady, and the updates are free, which is what I really like too. And it's highly capable, and it's also one of the only offerings that goes up to 2 meters. So it covers all of HF plus 6 and 2 meters. And I don't know if there's any others that do that right now without having to use transverters. And so for me, that was the attraction. And I've used two different ones now, like over the last 3 years, and I've got nothing bad to say about them. It works great.
Yeah. So there are a couple that actually have 2 meters. The Flex 6700 does have 2 meters natively. The only thing is it doesn't have a power amplifier on 2 meters. So you don't have to use a transverter. You just have to use an amplifier. The ICOM 705, which is QRP, the ICOM 705 has 2 meters, 70 meters, and D-Star built in. So that's
good to know.
That's an option. But I do like that the Sun SDR I think it's the MB1. They have that built in. They have, that built in, and more choice is good. It's more choice and more options and more competition is good. And I say all the best to them. Like I said, the people who use them in the expeditions, well, they actually use the Sun SDR Pro, which is the Sun SDR MB1 minus the display and knobs and such.
Yeah,
And,
so the DX is their current offering that is just below the MB1. The DX, which came out just a short while back, is 100 watts on HF, not 20. I had the 20 watt rig before. I still have it actually, and I loved it, but I wanted the 100 watt rig. It also does 50 on 6, and it does 7 or 8 watts on 2 meters right out of the box, and Ethernet enabled, built-in sound card, all that stuff. So you can actually go to my call sign and you can see the setup. I'm sitting inside my office right now. I'm actually not in my brewery. That's in my basement. But my entire setup, including the KPA 1500, is in a remote shack on the back of the property. And so I operate over Ethernet over optical fiber just to avoid interference. And it works great. I really love it.
Yeah. And like you said, I think one of the appeals and one of the gripes people have had with Flex is that how when they release a major version that, they want you to pay for it, which, I mean, that's their choice, but it's nice when the updates are free. And I think their software the Sun SDR software has the appeal of some people. So is there a feature like noise reduction?
Oh yeah, you can build your own filters. You can do all kinds of stuff with it, and they're always adding on. So they have a whole development plan. It's like I said, the progress is slow but steady. They do fix the bugs they say they're going to squash. They add features. They don't charge you for it, and I like the fact that the whole physical package is about the size of a VHF brick. I mean, it's probably about 7 inches square and about 2.5, 3 inches tall, including the fan, and it does 100 watts right out of the box. So just thought I'd throw that out there. That's another one that people overlook that's starting to be sold in the U.S. and it's a good entry point for some.
Yeah. Like it's the thing about it. It's overlooked by a lot of people because it's not really marketed in the U.S. as much. So that's a good point. So the other one final question: does it do adaptive pre-distortion?
It's on their development path, so it has the capability on the board. It has not been implemented in software thus far, but I think within the next 2 or 3 release cycles, it will have adaptive pre-distortion. So it has the capability. They just haven't coded it in just yet, but they said that it's coming. And if it's like everything else, if they say they're going to do it, it'll be slow in coming, but they will do it. Okay,
great. Thank you, Terry. All right, so David, KD2CDH said this is a very interesting presentation. Thank you. Lynn Daniel says no questions at this time, but additional impetus to get my general. Thanks. Well, you know what? You're welcome, and good luck on your general. Any other questions?
Hi, Ria.
Go ahead.
Sid W2SID. Well, very, very interesting presentation. And not knowing that much about SDR was very enlightening. But just a question: where this is kind of like a horse race between sideband and SDR, and it appears as though SDR is winning. What's your opinion on that one?
I think generally, what's going to happen. So for me, the biggest indicator in this whole race was when Elecraft announced an SDR. Because Elecraft initially said, well, we like superhead technology. And then they came out with the K4, and K4 is an SDR. So I think that is a key sign that the market tipped to the SDR, and I think SDR is going to become mainstream. The cool thing is that the most popular HF radio in the world right now, the Icon 7300, is an SDR, and it's $1,000, which is cheap for an HF radio. So I think definitely it's going to go in that direction.
Very good. Thank you.
All right. Who's the other person?
It's KC2ZVK. Ria, what kind of antenna system do you have for all this DX work? It sounds like you must have a pretty sophisticated antenna farm. What do
So-
you?
Yeah, I have a stepper beam, a monster. I also have some vertical arrays I use for the lower bands. Didn't used to always be that way. Sometimes I'd have like dipoles and stuff up. But yeah, if you're doing serious hardcore DXing, you might at least want to invest in a beam, right? Even if it's like a small tri-bander. And you know, you don't need. There are people who actually reach on a roll on 100 watts in a wire beam, not wire beam, in a wire. But you know, it's definitely easier when you have a beam. So I was fortunate enough that I convinced my town. Well, I didn't convince them. I went up and told them, here's your law. Your law says I can have an antenna. Please let me have one. And then they did. So.
When you do a contest, the DXCC and then multiple countries on top of the first 100, I mean, there's only so many countries in the world. How do you get to a number of contacts that is greater than the number of countries?
So when the DXCC program was first established by Clinton DeSoto from the ARRL back in the day, the stories on the ARRL website very interesting. I could tell you my perspective. DXCC has undergone evolution ever since it started. And initially, when it was envisioned, they were not just going to count straight nation states, right? Because that simply wasn't going to count everything. For example, if you work Hawaii, did you work the United States? You know, you worked Hawaii, right? You didn't work the continental United States. So, you know, you need to differentiate. So they have rules based on distance. They have rules based on political entities. Like if you work, I don't know, if you work France and you work a station right across the border in Spain or Germany, they're different countries. If you work the United States and you work Alaska, they're different because they're physically separated. So that's how you get a lot of entities. Notice DXCC doesn't use the word countries, they use the word entities. And they have different types of entities. They have entities that are political, meaning that they have political boundaries, and they're entities that are based on physical separation. And unfortunately, the ARRL board of directors, of which I'm a part of, we've made controversial decisions in terms of, you know, what counts as an entity. Like, for example, BS7 was voted on by the ARRL board. I was on the board at that time, and I don't know how I would have voted. So that's how we ended up with more entities than countries. And let's be honest here, you know, some people, I think they just, you know, a lot of them were there and they just got stuck there and they stayed there. When DXCC was revamped with DXCC 2000, you know, Dave Sumner and the whole gang, they did a revamp of the DXCC program. I think they left some entities in and some, you know, some just never went away, you know. So, by the way, thanks for the birthday greetings, JR.
Hey, happy birthday, my goodness.
It's tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, it's today in UTC.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Ria? Last call for questions.
Audio now unmuted. Leaving menus. Meeting tools.
Okay, well, it's been a pleasure, Ria, having you here. And this is the first for SARA in terms of a Zoom meeting with a speaker who's remote. I think it's a very effective means of hearing a wide variety of people without forcing a lot of expense and travel and time. So I like what I'm hearing. I'm looking forward to more of this kind of meeting. As always, I'd like to hear from the club and see how the response is. But we can't thank you enough. We owe you a mug with our call letters on it, and we'll figure out a way to get that mug to you.
Thank
You
you.
probably have one from the other talk that you gave to our club, but we'll do
Who's
our
better
best.
than one?
Yeah,
Well,
Tuesday.
you know what? Yeah, the kids always take my mugs and they drink soda and tea and stuff in it. So it'll be welcome. Thank you.
Sure, good. Okay, and I'd like to turn it back over to JR to ask for any further business and then close the meeting.
So Ria, do you have any questions of us?
Well, you know, I mean, I talk with a lot of people here. What I want to find out is are any of you planning on attending Ham Radio University? And if so, will you attend the ARRL forum and my SDR forum? Because I generally update it every year, the SDR forum.
Are they planning it to be virtual this year?
It's virtual this year. They already applied for it to be a virtual conference.
Is that going to be on the same time period as Kids Day?
It's going to be in January.
First weekend, I think it is, or I think that's when Kids Day is.
I think so. Let's see here. University. Tom Peruga, speaker invitation. Said the 21st year, January 4th, 2020.
Kids
Oh,
Day.
no,
I don't even know if
that
they're going
was
to do
last
Kids
year.
Day with the COVID anyways, but
Yeah, I think they might just have Kids Day virtually. So it's a 9th. It's January 9th, 2021. 7:30 a.m.
That might be interesting because I know a lot of us would like to go, but you know, it's the option of do we do Kids Day or do we do, you know, take a trip down to Long Island?
Yeah. Yeah. So you know, if you're coming virtually, that'll be great. And the thing about it being virtually, like I mentioned, I'll have a lot more of my colleagues. I already have Mike Ritz from. He lives in Oregon. He's a Northwestern Division Director. He's going to be attending and speaking as well with me. So to have that perspective, he's a nice guy. I think it's like winning fighters now. He's very versed in that, so you could talk to him. He's very active in that community, and plus they have like the wildfires up there. He could talk about disaster communications. And the other thing is, we're actually working on a response for 3 gigahertz, especially with regards to the wildfires, because they've been using amateur radio for cameras to report early wildfires, and they actually stopped some wildfires with amateur radio cameras. So they saw the cameras, they alerted the fire service. They came, they dropped water, boom, wildfire gone. So that's neat stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
I've been down to Ham Radio University. It's definitely worth the trip, but if they're doing it virtually, I think it'll be even more successful for those who might not be able to make the travel.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah,
And the
sounds
thing
like
is, if anybody wants to be a speaker, they're inviting speakers. Huh?
I'm in a, and then I have to ask somebody for a ride.
No, it's a great opportunity to put a toe in the water.
Anybody else got any questions for anybody? I think I recorded some of this, not all of it, which is unfortunate. I don't know if Zoom will go back and pick up where we started off or not, but I doubt it. Tim, W2UI, you want to say a few words?
Here comes a commercial message.
Dues are cheerfully accepted. You knew that was coming.
Well, that's exactly what I was waiting for. So, yeah, please, it's important to pay your dues because, you know, we have expenses, so we certainly have to pay for, and we'd like to keep things going. Anybody else got anything for the for Ria or for any of us?
Yeah, Lee, I have a question.
Who wants, wait a minute, wait 1 second. Let me add 1 second, Bob. Who asked that question?
Bob.
No, somebody sent something in a typed message.
Oh, what can you tell us about COVID and exams? So that's David KD2CDH. If you went to Long Island, would you have to quarantine upon returning upstate? So COVID and exams, first of all. I don't know if that's a question for Schenectady or that's for me. I could tell you what clubs are doing. There are several clubs who are doing the remote exams, and there are a lot of other clubs who are doing it outdoors, like Warren County. Warren County pioneered that outdoor exam drive-up thing, and that's been working out for a lot of clubs. They have virtual ones too. As far as quarantine, Cuomo just says, you know, I guess if you've been to certain states, it's not about Long Island or upstate. So it depends on states. If you come to New Jersey, you're fine. If you go to Florida, I guess they want you to quarantine.
Yep. There is also hams.care.com. They have an exam coming up in 2 weeks.
This weekend.
Is it this
Sunday?
weekend?
Yep, Sunday
Okay.
at 10. You can sign up on the league website. It is limited number of people. We're going to be doing it in cars, much like Warren County.
Okay. So there's a lot of different options for exams. I mean, there's obviously, you know, if you're afraid to get around people, you know, and you want to take an exam, there's also hamstudy.com. That also works. And I'm sure there's even a few other groups that are probably doing it too remotely.
Yeah, there's Columbia University Amateur Radio Club. They are actually doing a lot of virtual exams. I'll put their website in the chat. It's www.w2alphaechoecho.columbia.edu. And there's also New England Amateur Radio. They're also doing, they're in Massachusetts. They're also doing the virtual exams. And what they do on Zoom is they basically have you set up 2 Zooms, one on your laptop and one on a phone. The phone is to look at the room, and the laptop's to look at you and your desk. And then you take the exam on the website, and then they grade it, and then you e-sign, and you're good.
Of course, you got to pay for it too.
Yeah, I think they take PayPal. Columbia takes PayPal or Venmo, or if you mail them a check, I guess.
Let me expand on the dues cheerfully accepted. Someone asked the question, how do they pay remotely since we no longer have in-person meetings? And the person that asked the question was suggesting that we take PayPal. We don't take PayPal, and we don't take Venmo. You can mail a check to our post office box address, P.O. Box 449, Schenectady, New York, 12301. End of commercial.
It's a good commercial.
There'll be another one.
Maybe a personal question?
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bob. I'm sorry. I totally.
Oh, come on. It wasn't that important.
No, that's all right. My apology.
I just like to know what Ria's 9Y4 call was. What was your 9Y4 call?
9 Yankee 4 Romeo Juliet.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
My RJ follows me everywhere. So.
Good question. Anything else? Anybody else? Any other questions? Now, Ria's gift that she would like from everybody is to get on the national traffic system tomorrow night or tonight and send her birthday greetings.
Thank you. I'm going to be flooded with radiograms, but you know what? There could not be a better way to spend my birthday.
There you go.
When's your
Well,
birthday? When's your birthday tomorrow?
The 15th, yes.
15th. My granddaughter's 12th birthday tomorrow.
Oh, congratulations. Happy birthday to her.
Well, I think that's probably about it. I mean, if you guys want to hang out for a little while, you know, either here or on 06, I can certainly do that for a little while. Well, I'll tell you, if the FCC was going to charge the $50 for everybody and they would really step up enforcement, I think we would all be in favor of that. That's, you know, that would be my biggest thing that I would like to see them do is to really step up on
Spend $49 of it on 80 meters or 75 meters.
Well, I'd like to see the stuff on our own repeater go away.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
Well, that's just a matter of me having the time to drive around when I'm not working.
No, it takes more than one person, so.
I've gotten close to them.
Yeah, but they have the enforcement power. We don't.
Yeah. Ask Bill how good I am at finding people.
I could tell you that the FCC is not interested in enforcing any enforcement on the amateur bands as much as I'd like them to do that. But the ARRL is working with the FCC and they want us to do the enforcement for them and forward serious complaints. We had a few big ones like Bill Crowell lost his license, the V6 world's biggest jammer, and a few others. So, I mean, the FCC is, unfortunately, if you talk to anybody, they're on a path of extreme deregulation. They've been trying to deregulate everything under the sun. They just don't want to touch it.
So here's a question I was going to ask Gordo the other night. You know, and I didn't get a chance. I forgot to ask him. But where do you see ham radio in the next 20 years?
Oh, if I had a crystal ball. You know, I want to be optimistic, and I am optimistic. I think that I want to see amateur radio. Okay, so this is what I want to see amateur radio doing in the next 20 years. I want us to have a strong role in emergency communications. I do want us to have, you know, more role with the public, meaning that we carry things like health and welfare, traffic, and such. I do think eventually that public service agencies are going to invest in their own communications. However, those aren't foolproof, right? Things like first down and such like that. So I do still see us having a role. I do think though that in 20 years, I think we might see more SDRs. we will see probably a different type of you know, focus. We might see more data communications. We might see probably more. You might actually see more return to HF because, to be honest, I think the FCC and the industry, as in the wireless industry, is looking at VHF and above, with you know, saying that well, we could deploy some technology there. So in summary, I do think that ham radio will still exist. I do think that amateur radio will still have its core basis and purpose. I do think we'll still help out in emergencies. I want there to be more people involved of any age, right? young people too, of course, but I do want more people to be involved, and I definitely want us to become a knowledge hobby, you know, where we're learning especially. So, but I don't have a crystal ball. I'm sorry.
Anybody else got anything?
I have a question for Ria. I know the ARL is not the ones who sponsor the Kids Day, or at least last I knew they weren't. Is there any possibility that we may see in the future the league get more behind that and maybe publicize it more and encourage operators to get kids on the air, or some sort of, I don't know, something more than what we've gotten for Kids Day as it is?
So Kids Day, I thought that ARRL is a, you know, is an ARRL event. I wasn't aware that it wasn't. I do think that there's a group in Long Island that's associated with Limemark that handles Kids Day. I could be wrong. But
Yeah, last I knew it was sponsored. I want to say it was. It was funny. I got to remember who it was. The Boring Amateur Radio Club was originally who sponsored it. I didn't know if the league actually picked up on it or not.
yeah, well, the league says twice a year ARRL offers an event designed to promote amateur radio to our youth. So
And maybe they tagged their name to it. But like I said, it doesn't seem like they really publicize it or encourage it as much as some of their contests and what have you. And with a situation where we're seeing that we're trying to figure out ways to get the youth involved in things, you'd think they would publicize it a little bit more and try and push to get people to get kids on the air.
yeah, I think that's sad. And when I was interviewing CEO David Minster, new CEO, he said that one of his main goals will be to get more kids involved, but not just kids. He's talking about people who are younger, maybe people in their 20s, 30s, who will have capital to invest in ham radio. You know, kids are nice, but you know, sometimes they don't have the wherewithal to get on the air. The other thing that is really good for amateur radio and kids is the space program. ARIS recently spun off. They have a separate organization now, and they're really working the school contacts. ARDC, which is the Amateur Radio Digital Communications, they're a foundation that gives money to various causes. I don't know how much money they gave, but they funded a new radio system on the International Space Station. And a good reason they did that was for school contacts. So I definitely think that is some of the efforts that are going to bring more kids into the hobby. You know, when you talk to kids about making a contact on a repeater or stuff, they say, well, I have Skype and I have, you know, not Skype, geez, I'm showing my age. I have Facebook and even Facebook. I have the internet on my iPhone for that, you know. These days, you know, that's so passé. But when you talk about said, well, you know, you could talk to astronauts on the space station. They're like, wow, you know. So I really think that that'll go a long way. But Kids Day, I think Kids Day, to be honest, Kids Day is a nice activity, and I think it should continue. I do think they should promote it more, but I think there needs to be more in terms of actual activities to get kids involved. And how to get kids involved, I mean, I don't think anybody really has a magic bullet at this point, but David says he has some ideas. He's thinking of probably offering kids, you know, some challenges and events that they could work toward. And one thing the ARRL also did was they were supposed to have it this year, but of course it got canceled. They had the build a radio kit, right? And I was supposed to take part in that too, where they had the kids build a radio from a kit live at Dayton Hamvention. things like that, you know. But I mean, you know, I think it'll be nice when Dave's the chair as CEO that probably you could talk to him and he'll tell you what his ideas for kids are, and you know, and he'll tell you because he seems to be very enthusiastic about that too.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, we might have to pull him for a speaker.
That would be fun.
Yeah, tell him I said he has to.
Just lost my coffee there.
Tell him I don't give him the keys to the executive washroom if he does. I'm kidding. Yeah. I see SMARA Schenectady Museum arranged for kids to contact the ISS. Yes, that's very cool. Every school that I've talked to was never disappointed when they got to do it.
There's actually a video on YouTube of that contact, and I think if we ever get past the COVID thing, the SMARA group's going to put in to do it again.
Well, even now, if we get people to talk to over the repeater that's up there, would be kind of cool. Because there's the repeater that's on 437-800 for listening in 145.990 with a 67 hertz tone. You know, so that's kind of cool. I listened to that enough, and a good website to look at is N2YO.
Yes.
It's a great website. There's a counter that shows you in real time of when it'll actually show up over the area. So it's kind of cool to that's around.
Yeah. All right. Well, I gotta pop off, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much again, and I know we appreciate you taking the time out and spending it with us. And
thank you for the invitation.
And also, your kids who are in the background are cute.
You know, they video bomb every one of my Zoom calls. They love doing that. Even the work ones, they come and they say hi. Even the ones I'm at work, not Zoom. I don't use Zoom at work. I use WebEx.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So anyway, I'm taking a day off for my birthday tomorrow.
There you go.
Well, hopefully you get to work lots of DX tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happy birthday and thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Ria.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay. Well, good meeting.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Did everybody get their QST in the mail today?
Came today.
Yeah. Somebody took a bite out of mine.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I'm not happy about that, but it's okay. The important stuff, that was just the ads.
That was all the coupons.
What coupons? Oh, man.
I don't know, QST doesn't do me much good.
You know, it feels like it's even thinner than it was before for some reason, and I don't know.
Coupons will be the next step.
Yeah. It's the FTM 300. Ooh.
Yeah, not as nice as the 400.
You know, that's how I was reading. But the price point's much cheaper, too. So.
Yeah.
Yep. Tim, I got to make an arrangement to come see you.
Okay.
Can't tomorrow night. I got bowling tomorrow night. By the way, that's fun, wearing a mask while you're bowling the whole time.
Oh, I can't do it Wednesday evening.
All right, Thursday evening I have a SMARA meeting. Oh, well, I can do early tomorrow, like right after work.
Well, when's early?
Early to me is after 3 o'clock. It's probably more towards 4 or so.
No, I'll be golfing.
Oh,
But wait a minute, tomorrow?
yeah.
I'm not. Yeah, tomorrow's good.
All right.
Today's
Well, I'll call
Monday,
you first.
tomorrow's golf. Or Wednesday is golf, so I can't do Wednesday.
All right. Yeah, I'll call you first.
Yep, tomorrow's good.
Okay. After dealing with these kids all day, I want to get out of the house. So, yeah, they're.
You need to get Wires X up and running.
Yes, indeed. We gotta get the 400, the Samara 400 repeater up and running, and then that'll be on the air. They'll be running digital only. These kids are home from school already. They made one day, and then Mohan had to close down because of. Yeah, that was great.
The administrator failed to quarantine.
Yeah. Well, what it turned out was they had to get this. They had to go to a conference on how to teach with the COVID-19. And evidently, one of the people that showed up there from Oneida Central School District was infected and didn't let anybody know, got tested, turned out positive. So then everybody that was at that conference had to quarantine, which, of course, took out the whole school. The problem is the school district knew about it before school even started. They knew about it 4 days prior, and they still allowed school to open on the opening day on Thursday. So needless to say, the parents are not happy, nor would I think they would be. So, but evidently the only person that had any contact with them was in the high school, so we're not sure why they closed the elementary school as well.
It's the least funny comedy of errors.
Yeah, it's well, that's Department of Health for you. Anything government operated,
You can't blame them for his stupidity.
No, and that's true as well. So.
Hey, Tim.
Tim?
Yeah.
Sir?
The $5.99 is great on CW. On phone, not so good, but on CW, it's great.
That's good to hear.
What's wrong with it on phone?
A desk mic on it.
Yeah, what's wrong with our phone? So far, I can't get the output I should get.
I would say use the antenna tuner that's on it. I think that's probably got an antenna tuner on it. I would say use that and make sure that you're tuned right.
Yeah, I'm tuned right. I think I know how to use the rig, but I think I've got a problem. But I'll learn.
Bob, can you customize in the settings? I know that there's lots of settings. Can you customize the audio to tailor it to your voice? I know I can do that on my MP. I can customize the frequency response of sideband.
Okay, well, I'm not sure, and
you might be able to do that, or you might be able to. You might find out that Paul screwed it up before you got it.
Yep.
What's the rig model?
590.
Yes, you can customize the audio. I have one.
Yep. You may find out that the mic gain is just not up high enough.
That too.
Oh no, I have controlled the mic gain, I've controlled the amount of processing, and neither of them will increase my output. My output's about 10% of what it should be.
Did you ever try restoring the factory defaults to all those settings?
No, I didn't have to.
You might want to.
Yeah, start from scratch.
Did your ALC get bumped or something?
Couldn't tell you. I don't know if it got bumped. How I know, I've had the rig for, what, a week now? No,
Wow.
we'll figure it out.
Who was it that had one? Was it Mark?
Yes, I have a 590 SG.
Maybe Mark can get with Bob and maybe go through a couple things and help him out.
Yeah.
This is not the SG. This is just the S.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I'm doing a little poking here to see if it has the same.
Oh.
Let's see.
It's the same radio.
Yeah, so it says selecting and modifying a transmit audio equalizer profile. Okay.
Yep.
So Bob, in the chat, I assume you're able to get the chat. This webpage is from, I forget the guy's name, G3NRW, who used to host All Things Kenwood. And another gentleman took over the maintenance of the site. But that link is audio setup for our radio.
I'll tell you what, I'll get back to you. I'm not in a position to remember everything you said, but I'll
No,
get back
that's all right. I don't know if you can copy down that URL there, the link that I sent before it leaves the
I think
Zoom.
you can save the chats in this as well.
Like Ria, I'm a WebEx user.
Notice I'm not really worried about it.
Yeah, you look panicky.
Yeah, if you look, just so you know, if you look in the chat window in Zoom, if you click on the little chat thing on the bottom, the window pops up. If you hover over the bottom right-hand corner, there's a thing with 3 dots. You click that, it says more. One of the options is to save the chat. So you can save this dialogue, the link and everything that he just sent you for future reference if you choose.
Just send him an email.
I was gonna say, Bob, what's your email?
W2XM@ARRL.net.
Gotcha. All right, I'll shoot it to you in an email, Bob. Make it easier.
An interesting thing in the QST, they have the list of the 2020 scholarship recipients.
Yeah.
And
Guys from this
Anthony
unit.
Comanzo, KD2HJH, was receiver of the Henry Broughton K2AE Memorial Scholarship.
Nice.
Do you know him?
Isn't that
John's son.
yes, John's son, thank you. I can remember his first name. Comanzo's son there.
Yeah, Comanzo Jr.
Yeah.
Who is he though?
Yeah, but he's gotten the Brown Award before, hasn't he?
Yeah, I thought he got it last year.
He did.
He might have been the only one that applied for it too. So who knows? I don't know how that the scholarship works there.
Guys, I got to jump out of here. Good meeting now.
Yeah.
Yep, I got to run too. Good night, everybody.
I'm gonna walk. So nice to hear everybody tonight. Have a good evening, all.
I'm
Good
better.
See ya.
Good night now.
I'm better.
Thank you. Bye.
I
Here, gang.
I got to go see if the Giants are tied for first or second place.
right there with the Jets, you mean?
Well, yeah, it's it doesn't last too many weeks.
Kevin, thank you, Kevin.
Take care, all.
Yeah.
Take it easy. Hi, Bob. See you in sweepstakes, Bob.
Ooh, when's that?
November.
Oh,
Your mic is off, Bob.
for phone?
No. Well, both are in November. But
Yeah, they're both.
K2UF and I have to get psyched up for this. But now I have a good rig.
Good. And I'm expecting to hear you.
I even fixed my antenna this weekend. This week.
You probably don't need that.
I was out in the park operating. I'm like, I can't get the damn thing to tune up. Like, holy crap. What the hell's going on here? I went to turn over. Maybe I forgot the counterpoise because I use an end-fed vertical. And on my way over to it, I realized, maybe if I plug the SO239 in, I'll get a better signal.
Oh, it's not wireless?
It wasn't wireless. What was confusing is I did hear some stations on 20 meters before I got to. So I'm like, well, wait a minute. Oh, well. Bob, you have email. I sent you a link.
We all make mistakes.
When you get a chance, I sent you an email to that document I was talking about.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. And then if you're still struggling, we can figure out how to get together here by computer and try to talk our way through it.
I'm sure I'll be struggling, but thank you, okay?
Isn't that how we all get there?
All right. Good day, everybody. This is
Take it.
W2XM Clear.
Take it easy,
73
guys.
gang, we'll see you on the air somewhere. Take it easy.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye now. Good night.
Everybody has left the building. All right, who's left?
Somehow we're still on Zoom.
We are still on Zoom.